Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Pits and Riffs podcast. My name is Tony, and today we are going to be talking about Ankor, the entire episode, almost the entire episode. Ankor released a new song a couple weeks ago, and we'll talk about that. And then later, I'm going to break down their most recent full album, which was completed about a year ago this month. Actually, exactly a year ago this month, called Shoganai, which, in my opinion, was the greatest album by any band I listened to ever. So we're going to talk about that. And there aren't many notes for this one because this is a really easy one to talk about. And it's a concept album, so there's a mix of theme. And just fantastic riffs and great music. Just generally a great album. But first, let's talk about the new Madara by Ankor. Came out on, I want to say, September 25th, I believe. Thursday, September 25th. Um, Fantastic song from start to finish. Um, I always worry when a band that I like releases a new song from a new album after I really like the last one, that it's going to be kind of a letdown. For me, that was the follow-up Dream Theater album to Distance Over Time. When I heard The Alien, I thought it was a good song, but at the same time, like, I loved Distance Over Time. That was like, for a while, that was my favorite album by any artist ever. Um, and so I thought that it was a little bit of a letdown. The follow up to that, A View from the Top of the World. There have been other albums from other artists like that too, but I was worried that with this artist, Ankor, who I've come to really like, and they might even be my favorite band now. I don't know. I need to see them live, I think, first to really make that determination. But I was worried that there would be a little bit of a drop off, and there wasn't. More this was perfect because this was more of the same of what they had been doing with previous albums, especially their most recent album. The trend was just getting heavier, and it seems like it reached its peak with Venom and then settled at Embers. And that seems to be That's what I heard a lot of in this song. I heard a lot of Embers and I heard a lot of Hill Valley, which was off of this album, White Dragon. Um, but really, at the same time, there wasn't a lot of their previous work that I could really hear in this song. Like with Shogunai, I'll talk about that later. The song itself, there were callbacks to like older songs. I'm talking over a decade old Ankor. I didn't hear a lot of that in this, and that's fine. I mean, that's just the direction the band is taking. Um, they have gotten heavier, and this was exactly, I think, what every fan would expect from Ankor. Now, I might be one of the rare Ankor fans that likes the really old stuff. I don't speak a lick of Spanish, and I still listen to Al Fin Descansar. If you watched the video I made last season, you would kind of see that. I got the titles wrong when I was trying to guess the songs, but I at least listened to the album. But I listened to all Ankor. I like the band's progression. It was a power metal band. There were little pieces of prog added to it over time, and then it became full-on metalcore. Some point along the way. I don't even know what you can call Beyond the Silence of These Years. It's just alternative metal, maybe. And I really like that album as well. That's one of my other top 5, top 10 albums by any artist that I listen to. Um, and so when Madara came out, Endless Dream, I was, hoping that this would be more of the same, but also new. And it seems like they hit that right on the head. There's a lot of energy in this song, and there are even callbacks in the lyrics to some of their other songs, even the recent ones like Shogunai, Silver Night, callback to Silver Moon off of, the lyric from the chorus of Shogunai. Um, and the band has made it very clear in a live stream that came out, that Jesse did before the song was released, that this is a different thing from Shogunai. The band had said in the past that they might do a follow-up to the Shogunai mini album, but they made it clear that this is not part of that. This is part of another mini album that the band has not officially announced when it'll be released, but this is the first single off of that new album. And let's hope that what I heard back in June is factual. But not a lot has really been said or put out about this new album, um, whenever it comes out, or what the next thing we can expect is. Um, I did hear in the live stream that Jessie did that her and her husband David, who's also in the band, the guitarist, are going to Japan for a couple weeks. Um, Maybe when they come back, there's going to be something there. I don't know. It was kind of alluded in the live stream that maybe there's something else to look to. Um, but either way, looking forward to it. Um, but Madara, Endless Dream, great track from start to finish. A lot of energy, softer pieces as well. It seems like Venom was the heaviest that this band is going to get, and it sort of leveled off at Embers. And this was a little bit like Embers to me. Um, but maybe with Eleni Nota still, on drums, we could hear something else like Venom too. Um, that is a crazy drum song, especially the kick drum at the end. Um, but anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about a little bit of their older stuff, which is funny to think about because when I talk about older, I'm talking about songs that were released from 2022 to 2024. A mini album spread out over 2 years of releases. The first song coming out, I think, in December 2022, which was Prisoner. Oblivion came out a few months later. Darkbeat came out a few months after that. Um, Stereo came out in October 2023. The following March, we got Venom. That June, we got Embers. And then that October, last October, we got Shoganai and The World is a Cruel Place, but also very beautiful. Which, ironically enough, was the first song on the album and the last song that they released. Sort of a little intro to the album. That's what that was. And there are pieces in that song of, the other songs in the album. Prisoner, especially you can hear, and then Dark Beat especially as well. The whole, last riff is basically Dark Beat. Just a little bit of a variation of it. This is really niche what I'm about to say, but what that reminded me was Dream Theater when they played a live concert, which they recorded. It was called Once in a Lifetime. Um, the third song off of that was basically The Mirror, but it was a little bit different, and they called it Puppies on Acid. So that's what The World is a Cruel Place, but also very beautiful reminds me of, that song. Um, and then you get into the crux of the album. You get into Dark Beat, which is chapter one. And thematically, this is where kind of it all starts. Now, this was the third song that was released, which I thought was interesting, that sort of sequence of chapter two, chapter three, chapter one, because Prisoner was released first, then Oblivion, then Dark Beat. Um, Dark Beat has to do with kind of the start of it all. This whole story of, dealing with trauma and getting over it. It starts with the lyrics, "No, it's your blood on my hands," which gets called back a little bit later, and actually in terms of the release process before. Um, and then this is where they really get heavy. I mean, is a lot of this album is pretty heavy compared to the earlier stuff, especially the first uh, couple of songs, Dark Beat and Prisoner. So this is sort of where the story begins. The music video tells a story of Jessie on a date, and her the guy that she's with. I want boyfriend in the story because they're not actually married in the story. That's part of it. Um, they go on a date, and then the boyfriend gets tragically killed, and his watch stolen or something, or like a necklace stolen or something. And throughout the song, Jessie is trying to get a hold of herself. Her friends are telling her, like, get up. You got to, you know, just try to live your life. That this was unfortunate, but try to move on. And she really can't, because this is, it's a lot of trauma involved in this. Then you get into Prisoner, and this is the first song that was released, and this is the key that Ankor is getting much heavier. To anybody who heard this song, this came out after 3 years um, after White Dragon was released. The last song on White Dragon was Nebula. Before that was Automatic and Sail. And those were, moderately heavy tracks. Nothing like this. This was just fantastic. A lot of screams, Fry vocals, um, and just generally speaking, kind of the direction the band announced that they were taking. It was more metalcore than it maybe had been in the past. There might have been hints of metalcore in the past, like Hill Valley is the one song that comes to mind. But this was very much, you know, more heavy, more like Spirit Box. And that's who they kind of piggybacked off of in terms of an American crowd a little bit was Spirit Box, because the crowd that really liked them found this new music kind of similar, but also even a little heavier to an extent. Some of the songs, like Prisoner and like Venom later. Um, Thematically, this is the one about Jesse trying to get out of her own head. The blood is now on her hands. Her blood is on her hands. So you see that sort of transition where it went from it's your blood on my hands, thinking, maybe she could have done something more, to, okay, now I got to care about myself. It's my blood that's on my hands. Um, and the music video kind of ends with this, she's really hurting. And there's this shot of like blood coming out of her head. Um, she's trapped in her cell, which I think is her mind and her house. Because you see her like looking out the windows, looking through the blinders, debating about going outside, but not being able to get there. And there's a callback to that later, which I think is pretty cool. But she's basically a prisoner in her mind and in her own house. And then you get into Oblivion, and it's sort of she's sort of in this stage of like a I don't want to say a trance, almost like a coma, where okay, the last song Prisoner ends with the blood coming out of her head, and coming down from the shower and everything. And then this one starts with her in this like meadow, in this sort of desolate area, and it's almost like this sort of heaven type place where it's somewhere between life and death. And it even starts that way, and the music video tells a story as well as the lyrics do. A shining light draws away my fear. I wonder what the hell brought me here. Kind of wondering, like, okay, how did I get here to begin with? Um, what did I actually do? This can't be real, which is also part of the lyrics. Lost in oblivion. Um, Sort of coming to terms with the fact that, um, you know, she had fallen down this hole. That not taking care of herself kind of led her to this dark place. And the best shot of this music video, I think, is a shot where it's all these people sitting around a table, and Jesse's at the head of it, and the camera like goes towards Jesse and then pulls back, and she realizes that she's alone, and then this pill bottle hits the floor, which is a little bit of a mix, I think, of hallucinating, and then also being alone, and the part of the song, the outro, that really is impactful, the part that I really liked, this drove me to Ankor to to really begin with, are those run to them lines, because this is just really powerful stuff. Um, you know, don't kind of isolate yourself like we saw in Prisoner. She was isolated in her own house. She didn't want to be around anybody. Even her friends were going and living their lives without her, and she was upset about that. And she felt like she had left all of that behind. Um, and so in this one, she kind of realizes at the end of the music video, like, okay, I got to get it together. I got to find a way to sort of break out of this cell. And that leads me to Stereo, which, if it weren't for Kingdom by Devin Townsend, this would be my favorite song ever. This is pure EDM metal, and I don't listen to any EDM, but this is what really hooked me on Ankor, because I really just love the way that they blended that sort of EDM and disco and metal all together. Like, it's fantastic. Um, so in this part, you know, this is a little bit weird too thematically, because it's like you go from Oblivion and it's this light sort of happy-ish place, even though it's not supposed to be, with the light tower and the beach and the meadows and all of that and the snow. And then this one is like, all right, back to reality. We still have work to do, like, this isn't over yet. We still gotta go through the steps of grief and then try to get out, and fight our demons, which is what a majority of the song is about, having the angel and the demon, and debating like which voice Jesse is going to follow, until ultimately towards the end of this they're in agreement, the angel and the demon. They're telling her, all right, we should go out, like, let's go, we'll go to a dance club basically, and maybe try to make some friends or something. Um, and so you know before that, she goes back and forth in her head, like, what should I watch, this channel, should I not watch this channel, do I like this cake, do I not like this cake, am I doing a good job of this, am I not doing a good job of this? And that's really portrayed very clearly in the music video, which was fantastic. The whole video was fantastic. um, and then it ends with this outro, which is just pure disco EDM metal, which is fantastic. I'm using that word a lot, but I really like the outro. The outro, I think, is the best part of the song. Um, Also, the lyrics of, like, I don't want to be the one to face it. So, I'm in this situation. I know I'm going to have to confront my biggest fears and obstacles in this process. I don't want to be the one to face it in the end. But then again, in the music video, she's out there. She's, chasing a normal life again. And then towards the end, she runs into the killer. Um, who then she makes a dash for it. The angel and the demon are kind of back and forth in the head, like the demon, who is Fito, the guitar player, is yelling at the killer and trying to attack him. And then the angel's like holding her back. Eventually, she runs. Um, and that leads into Venom. You see at the very end that he's in the background and he's like walking behind her and like stalking her. Um, and he tries to, in the Venom music video, it really starts with he's trying to finish a job almost, because he knows she got away. Um, but she hits him on the head, and so she's in this position now where she's got this body of this person that killed her boyfriend. Um, and thematically, this is a difficult one, um, because it's a little bit like the music video tells sort of this different story. I think from the lyrics, where the lyrics of the song sort of lead you to believe like, um, it's this demon just telling you in your head like what you're doing is still wrong, whatever you're doing is still wrong. Um, you're still falling from this incident that happened. But the music video tells a story of she she hits this killer on the head, and she's debating what to do, and she takes him out to this lake or river or something, and ties him to a bridge, and is gonna like dump him in there. But then realizes towards the end she's the bigger person. Um, and even though like towards the end, it really does seem like she sort of relapses, where it's this difference of it lyrically anyway. Everything just seems so gone, and there's no hope, and everything is lost. In the video, she's screaming at the killer, and then the police take the killer away and let her go home. That to me was interesting, but it's a work of fiction to an extent, so I get it. Um, that wouldn't happen in real life, just so you know, anywhere. Um, but yeah, the lyrics of the song tell the story of ultimately in the end the demon kind of wins, but that changes a little bit in Embers, which I think is more of the closure song, and I think they could have finished with this. And I really did think that this was the last song off of the album for a while until they announced they were going to release the song Shoganai. Um, this is the one where she reunites kind of with her boyfriend in her head anyway for this sort of fake ceremonial wedding, um, where he's there, and she's gonna find him one day in a different world, in a different life. um, you might be gone, I'm gonna try to live the rest of my life. And ultimately when I die, I'll find a way to be with you, which is this very poetic way I think to kind of end it with this, and then especially with the outro, in all worlds we will prevail. I really like that part. Um, but then it doesn't end because there is one more song in this, which is called Shogunai, the title track. Now, the band had not said to this point what this mini album was going to be called. They just kind of called it the Chapter series, which, it was just sort of this collection of singles on, all the streaming services and everything, but there wasn't a formal album to it. And this song was released on October 24th, later this month, basically, 2024. Um, and this was sort of the wrap, where, you know, Embers was sort of the end of the story as it was between her and the boyfriend, and then Shogunai was really the end of the whole thing. This is where she comes to terms with the fact that she's living a different life now. She can't go back to where she wants to be. There are several really cool things in the song. This song really reminds me of Dark Passenger off of Last Song for Venus, especially the what is it? The boundless, weightless, lifeless verse. That really reminds me of that. There are also, I think, a little bit of the some of the more recent work in there, a little bit of White Dragon I hear, and then obviously a lot of the Shogunai album because it's sort of along the same lines. Um, it's a mix of these clean vocals with the fry vocals, which is also great. Um, and the chorus is pretty similar, I would say, in terms of how it sounds to like Prisoner, and then with Madara as well, which came out a couple weeks ago. Um, I also really like the callbacks to the other songs in the bridge. It starts with Run to Them, which is the line from Oblivion that I really like. I don't want to be the one to forget, which is Prisoner. Um, like a radio and stereo, that's stereo. What time has torn apart? Which I believe that was Dark Beat, right? Yeah, that was Dark Beat. Will prevail. That's obviously Embers. Now this curse will make me fall. That's Venom. So it's not even in that necessarily that sequential order, but it's a callback to all the previous songs on this album. And then you've got a little verse from David in here, which I don't think there's another real like verse like this from David in this album. He used to do a fair amount of the vocals going back to like Beyond the Silence of These Years, um, but not much throughout Shogunai, and even not really too much on White Dragon, not that I can remember. Um, but on this one, he has a little pre-chorus where, he reunites with Jesse briefly. Jesse kind of feels his presence with her. Um, and then you finish with the chorus one more time. Um, Shogunai is sort of this coming to terms of like, acceptance. Even when, something like this, basically Shogunai is a Japanese expression meaning like it can't be helped. There's nothing that can be done. So like accept the difficult situation that you're in, and try to come to terms with the fact that hey, this is your life now. Which I think is the reason why this band was going to at some point release a follow up to this. Whether that still happens or not, we don't know. Um, but Shogunai is my favorite album by any artist ever. There are so many different themes to this, and it's not just metalcore from start to finish. There are bits of everything in this alternative, um, disco, and stereo. It gets almost to the point of extreme metal with Venom, and then it calms down a lot with Shogunai. Um, and I hope anyway that the new mini album that comes out, which features Madara, is similar to this because Shogunai was a fantastic album, and I think the band realizes um, that Shogunai really helped their popularity. A lot of people watch, especially Prisoner, but I think the funniest thing about it is that on YouTube, Prisoner has 2.6 million views, and I don't think that's their most viewed music video on YouTube. I'm pretty sure. Okay, Holy Wolf has 2.7 million views still. So that is still the most popular Ankor song. And Nana isn't far behind with 2.4 million views. So you go back to some of like the older works even, and those still get a significant amount of views. I wonder if you go all the way back to Alfine Descansar, how many views they get. But either way, um, some of their older works are just fantastic. And if you ever get to, if you get around listening to their older works, if you haven't already, do it. And then they also release they release these little snippets of almost like vlogs of making the new album. So they've got one for My Own Angel. They've got 4 of these. And then for Last Song for Venus, I think they have 3 of these. Yeah, they have 3 of them. Um, and those are hilarious to me. You really see how the band kind of came to making these albums, and then it's also, now they make their own vlogs of like touring and stuff too. So you can see like the progression of the band from those vlogs to the ones that they're releasing now. Not that any of them are bad; they're all fantastic. But anyways, that is going to be it for the Ankor special. Um, for Soon in a Pit Near You, there's one thing. Ghost the other day announced a tour, nowhere near me, so there's no shot I'm going to this thing. It's all the smaller cities, I think, for the most part. Some maybe the ones they didn't hit on the last tour. I don't know. I don't know enough about their last tour to really say. Um, but they're not hitting anything New York, Philadelphia, Washington D.C. It's they kick this tour off in Orlando in January, and they play a lot in the South. Then they go to Connecticut and Quebec, play a couple of shows in Canada, a couple in Ohio, and then sort of the Midwest. And they finish up on the West Coast with Inglewood, um, after, well, basically 3 shows in California, but they're spending a lot of 2 weeks on the West Coast. Um, So yeah, that one I won't be going to. The nearest show to me, I think, is Connecticut on January 28th. That is my busy season. And knowing Ghost and their history of touring, um, I think I'm not gonna buy tickets to that one and make a plan out of it. You know, if it was in Philly, I'd do it 100%. Um, Making travel plans to see ghosts seems like a losing battle. I'll leave it at that. Anyways, that is going to be it for this video and this edition of Pits and Riffs. Thank you guys so much for watching, and peace out, broskies.